man. You are a guardian angel and designer. Guess what you talking about, man? You are from the Bronx, bro. You are not from Harlem. Why do you keep thinking that you are from Harlem, bro? You are not from Harlem. I did not grow up with you, man. I did not grow up with you. Contrary to what you believe, never needed nowhere to stay. You act like that couch. You was a fan. You begged us. You are.
What if Jim Jones wasn't the mastermind he swears he is? What if the guy screaming he made Macy and Camron was just a tag-along who begged for a spot? Imagine finding out the same dude yelling, "I built Dipset," was really just the loudest fan in the room. Back when diplomatic immunity had the whole culture shook, what if that whole empire was built off someone else's grind? Jim been out here faking like he ran the show, but behind the scenes, it's looking like he was just hanging on for clout. Now the mask's slipping and the truth's getting loud. How long can you fake legendary before the real ones who built you decide to tear it all down? Get ready to watch one of hip-hop's biggest illusions come crashing down. For years, the culture stood on one golden rule: respect ain't handed out, it's earned in the streets. You can't claim corners you ain't grow up on, you can't remix your backstory when it suits you, and you definitely can't snatch credit from the real ones who laid the foundation. But Jim Jones, he's been bending and breaking every street code for 2 whole decades, and now the very hands that helped him rise are coming back to snatch the mic, and the truth's about to spill heavy. Can you believe the nerve? Jim really just said he was the CEO of Dipset. The CEO, he really said he held down Macy and Cam? That's not just twisting history. That's straight up identity theft on a Harlem scale. Claiming you built something you never touched? That's more than a lie. That's a street-level violation that'll get somebody pressed for real. And peep how bold he says it, like it's gospel. That's what happens when you repeat a fantasy long enough, you start living in it. But the problem with borrowing clout to build your name, one day the real owners pull up to reclaim what's theirs. I never needed nowhere to stay. Dude, you act like your couch. Man, you was a fan. You begged us. You are a fan. Boom! The room went cold. Real cold. Cam didn't just check Jim. He surgically shredded that whole made-up legacy. 4 little words. You were our fan, and poof, 20 years of fake flexing just got wiped out like it never happened. This ain't about no bruised egos. This is about facts. There's a big difference between builders and leeches, between the ones who create from scratch and the ones who just latch on once it's popping. And Cam, he made it crystal clear which side Jim really been on this whole time. You not from none of that, period? This is where Cam breaks down the real mindset behind Jim's desperation. See, when somebody ain't built nothing real, they get thirsty for validation. It ain't about loyalty, it's fear. Fear of being seen for what they really are, empty. Jim didn't earn his street rep, he borrowed it like a costume. And now that the mask is slipping, he's panicking. When your whole image is built on a shaky story, all you can do is lie harder and hope nobody checks the receipts. Nobody calls your blood. Well, guess what? The bill just came due, and it's looking real pricey. The same man who's been out here screaming he was the CEO, the muscle, the backbone of the crew, just confessed on camera that Mahe was the one who taught him how to rap, not the other way around. Jim ain't built Macy, Macy built Jim. That ain't a slip-up, that's a full-blown confession. His own mouth just backed everything Cam and Macy been exposing for years. When the lies collapse from the inside, that's street justice at its coldest. Jim been capping about everything, not just Dipset, but even the roots of his friendship with Cam. He out here acting like Cam was sleeping on his couch, like he was the one feeding a broke artist, when the real story couldn't be more different. That's what happens when clout gets to a liar's head. They rewrite the past, flip every story, and crown themselves the savior, the boss, the plug, the hero. But here's the problem. The folks he's lying on actually lived that era. And now they got ammo. The wild part, Jim can't even clap back. How you gonna fight a tape of your own mouth confessing you ain't the builder, but the student? And trust, it gets even messier from here. While Jim been out here wrecking his own rep with straight-up contradictions, The ones who actually watched Dipset blow up been sitting back taking notes. And now, they're ready to drop a truth bomb that flips everything we thought we knew about who really held power behind the scenes. Because once the smoke clears and the lies stop hitting, the real story always comes from the folks who lived it. So when Jules Santana says things were cool at first, he's laying down the facts before it all unraveled. And peep his tone, calm, direct. Real ones don't gotta add sauce to the truth. Real ones just drop facts and let the truth do all the talking. Now here's where the plot really twists up. No joke. This part complicates everything. Turns out Jim did have people working under him. He did hold a legit position in the crew. So now, this ain't about a total fraud. It's about a dude who had some power but couldn't handle the limits. Jim wasn't powerless, but he damn sure wasn't no CEO either. He was middle management trying to remix his role like he built the whole empire from scratch. Now this right here, gonna split the whole comment section in half. Choke, no joke, just dropped a bomb. He said there would be no Dipset without Jim, and that Jim was the muscle behind it all. But before Jim's crew starts popping bottles, let's break it down. Being the muscle don't mean you the brains. Playing a key role don't mean you created the blueprint. Jim held it down, but he wasn't the mastermind. His lane was security and street presence, not vision or leadership. There's a big gap between being needed and being in charge. This is where the lines in the sand start forming. Santana and Choke, no joke, ain't riding for Jim because they think he's flawless. They backing him because they saw what he really brought to the table, even if Cam and May trying to downplay it now. But this ain't just beef, it's psychological warfare. Both sides playing the game with selective truth. Cam and Mave cutting down Jim's real input to prove he's been gassing himself. Jim's camp is boosting his impact to fight the Just a Fan label. The real story, probably somewhere in the middle. But in street politics, perception is power. And right now, Jim's getting dragged in the court of public opinion. You know what's wild about street politics and power moves? When everybody broke, loyalty feels solid. But the second one person starts outshining the crew, that's when folks' true colors come out. And what's about to drop? It's gonna show exactly who was really hating behind the scenes. Choke no joke just flipped the whole narrative, saying it wasn't Jim who was jealous, it was Cam who couldn't handle Jim's glow up. But before you treat Choke, no joke's words like gospel, peep what's really going on. Choke got personal smoke with Cam that runs way back, years. This man nearly threw hands with Cam just for showing love to a Jim Jones mixtape. That ain't loyalty, that's obsession. When somebody gets that emotional over you showing love to their old teammate, that's all you need to know about where their bias sits. Choke ain't just riding for Jim, he's taking shots at Cam on purpose. Now he out here painting Jim as the protector, the muscle who kept Cam safe in the streets. But look at the timing. Jim just dropped his album Church Steps in February 2025. And just like that, everyone's talking Dipset drama again. Coincidence? Please. When your career needs a jumpstart, there's no better trick than digging up old beef for clout. And Choke no joke, he's the perfect wingman for anyone trying to rewrite the story. Especially when he got his own grudge against Cam. Let's be real. At the end of the day, this ain't loyalty, it's revenge dressed up as truth. Jim just moved quicker, played the game smarter. They say time heals all wounds, so most folks sit back, let the years pass. But Jim, he peeped his shot early. He saw 50 had the hottest platform out, way louder than anything Dipset had at that moment. So when he performed that record, the biggest track out, in front of a crowd Dipset rarely touched, it was strategic, not shady. You feel me? From his point of view, it wasn't betrayal, it was opportunity. And honestly, Jim knew it wasn't gonna lead to no bloodshed. He just made a move others weren't ready for yet. Man, this whole thing wasn't even that deep. Back then, I had people in Queens. It wasn't no war zone, you feel me? And look at Cam and 50 now. They cool, sharing a platform, laughing it up. So clearly the beef wasn't life or death, they just took longer to squash it. So tell me this, why was it a problem when Jim linked up with 50, but now it's all love when Cam do it? Make it make sense? Jim and Cam beefing right now, and suddenly 50's in the mix again? But when Jim pulled that move back then, y'all flip? It's the same situation. Y'all just pick and choose when it's cool and when it's foul, and that's the real double standard nobody wanna admit. You feel me? Folks always got favorites, even inside the group. That's just how it goes. So when Dipset start clashing, everybody wanna pick sides, but that's the real problem. If y'all really wanted to see the crew move like a unit, then stop choosing teams based on who you like more, Cam or Jim. At the end of the day, it's Dipset, period. So when you see them going at it, yeah, you know what you're watching. You know this ain't just rap, it's personal. But me? I ain't here to gas it up. I ain't the one throwing fuel on a fire that's already burning. That's not my lane. I ain't egging none of this on. Santana breaks down the 50 Cent moment, but here's the real red flag. Jim was so thirsty for solo shine, he broke the one street code you don't touch, loyalty during war. If your crew beefing and you step on stage with the enemy, that ain't business, that's straight up betrayal fueled by ego and envy. Jim couldn't stomach living in Cam's shadow no more, so he made a move that shattered the whole brotherhood. That ain't the energy of a man secure in his spot. That's a dude burning the house down just to feel seen. Jim wasn't no loyal soldier who got done dirty. He was the hype man who let jealousy wreck the empire. Jim been chasing that star role for decades. And now, 20 years later, he's still so pressed, he's calling up anybody with a grudge to help flip the script and rewrite history.
Chances of you, Cam, and Mace getting back?
I don't think it's really gonna happen. We two different type of people and always have. Competitive nature always been first before friendship. Remember, Cam, my man. It's not.
So it's not you.
I took the position of my position. Cam is my partner. I'm not his artist. I was the CEO of Diplomats. I made Diplomats with him. I was with him for every bit of his journey. I held him down. I took that position of holding him down. I didn't.
Even Freaky Zeke, who's usually the peacemaker, had to admit, this beef wasn't that deep at first. But once the outside voices jumped in, that's when it all spiraled way out of control. And who really eats off keeping old wounds wide open? The one who needs that old drama to stay relevant today. When someone gets exposed as a fraud and got no real comeback, they hit rock bottom fast. That's when the weak moves show up. Threats, sneak disses, and cheap shots. And Jim Jones? He's about to show the world just how low a desperate man will go when the lies stop landing. Camron didn't just diss him, he ripped apart Jim's street rep piece by piece. This ain't just personal anymore. Cam's laying out a whole pattern. According to him, Jim got no code, no pride, and no loyalty to nobody but his own need to stay in the spotlight. Camron ain't even mad no more, he's bored. And when someone stops seeing you as a threat and starts treating you like background noise, that's peak disrespect. Cam basically saying Jim ain't even worth the effort. He's on to bigger, better moves. So what's Jim do when he gets fully exposed? He throws threats. Cause when you got no real ammo, no receipts, and your whole image been shattered, intimidation becomes your last card to play. Now he's talking about exposing Mozzie and Cam's secrets. But catch this, he still ain't denied a single thing they said about him. And when the threats flop, Jim goes straight to body shaming. Man really told Meyer to go on a diet, like that's gonna fix anything. This is what it looks like when a grown man runs out of real ammo and starts throwing middle school level insults. Jim out here acting like this is some kind of roast battle, but all he's doing is showing how shook he really is. Attacking Meyer's looks won't erase the facts. This ain't street, this ain't gangster. This is straight up pathetic desperation from somebody who knows he already took the L. The irony is choking. Jim says he don't take Cam's responses serious, claims they just chasing viral clout. But guess who's been hopping on every platform that'll hit record? XXL, Cam Capone, anybody with a mic. Jim Jones out here calling others clout chasers while running his own press tour just to keep his name in rotation. And the most revealing part? When the interviewer actually tries to press him on the real beef with Mayhe and Cam, Jim suddenly goes silent, clammed up like he ain't got nothing left to say. The same man talking tough, throwing threats left and right, suddenly got nothing to say when hit with real questions. That's what happens when your whole image is built on lies. Soon as someone starts digging for details, the foundation crumbles. Jim's loud when he's steering the convo, but the second someone else grabs the wheel, silence. And now, you're about to witness the full mental meltdown of a man who's lived in a lie so long, reality itself feels like an attack. Listen close, Camron's about to drop the final blow. This beef ain't personal anymore, it's a revelation. This ain't just drama, this is a pattern. Cam says every artist who links with Jim ends up worse off. That ain't leadership, that's leech behavior. But the part that hits hardest, Cam exposes that Jim's been on a bitter press tour against him and Mahe for over 10 years. This ain't fresh beef, this is obsession. A man stuck in the past because that's the only place where he ever felt relevant. And the irony, it's choking. Jim swears he don't care about rumors, says he's focused on money moves, but who's been running to XXL Cam Capone and every mic he can find just to keep talking? Jim Jones keeps saying he's all about the money, but he's on a full-blown press run, clinging to old beef just to stay visible. And this ain't just Harlem drama over the glory days. This is a bigger convo about authenticity in hip-hop. It's the difference between builders and biters, creators and clout chasers, earned stripes and stolen credit. Jim's whole legacy? A cautionary tale of what happens when your entire identity is stitched together from someone else's shine. Mashi and Cam didn't just win, they exposed him. Using his own words, his own slips, his own receipts, they tore down every false brick he built his name on. A fraud hiding in plain sight for 20 years. If this video had you locked in, go ahead and smash that subscribe button so you never miss what drops next on GossUp. Hit that like, drop a comment below, and let us know who really ran Dipset. Keep it real, fam.